Hey guys, welcome to machine learning tutorial. Before we get started, let me discuss the agenda or the topic that we're going to discuss about. So we're going to begin with understanding the need of machine learning, why is it important and what exactly machine learning is and some of the uses of machine learning. Once we are done with that, we will look at the machine learning process beginning from understanding the business objective to deploying the model. Next, we are going to talk about the career opportunities and the payroll. Next, we will discuss about why do we have to go with Python programming language when it comes to machine learning? Why shouldn't we go with C, C++, Java, etc.? Finally, we will end the session by looking at a demo where I will show you how to work with Python programming language. So hope all of you are clear with the agenda. Let's get started with understanding the need of machine learning. So what is the importance and need of machine learning? Let us try to understand this. We need machine learning because the work that we need to do is increasing day to day, right? And it is a good idea to automate these routine work. This will basically save the manpower of an organization, and also there will be increase in productivity. So this is the first reason why people usually go with, or why an organization goes with, machine learning. And the second reason is, ever since the technology revolution, there's a huge amount of data that is being generated. And as per a research, 2.5 quintillion byte of data is being generated every single day. Now, you guys might be thinking, where is this data coming from?
Simple. This data comes from sources such as social media, like Instagram post. I could say Instagram post and chatting, chatting, and videos that we watch. All these generate a huge amount of data. The second source, which I would talk about, is machine data. This is the information or data generated from sensor or games. And the third source which I would talk about is transactional data. What the data basically, generated from daily transaction via online or offline. So these are the primary data sources from where we generate a huge amount of data. Now, how does machine learning fit into this? How is machine learning even related to this data? Let us try to understand this. So what happens here is, since we produce a huge amount of data, we need to find a method, right, that can analyze our data, process our data, and make useful insights from these data. Make useful insights from this data. So this is where machine learning comes into picture. So the data whichever we generate every day, what machine learning does is it analyzes the data and process the data, and we make useful insights from this data. Yeah. So now let us talk about the companies that make use of machine learning. So companies such as Netflix, Amazon, these build machine learning model using tons of data, or a huge amount of data in order to gain profit and avoid risk. So using machine learning, we can predict the risk, we can predict the profit, and also we can find opportunities which will help our business grow. And this is the reason why these companies make use of machine learning. When it comes to Netflix, the recommendation engine is built using machine learning. And when I talk about Amazon Alexa, This is built using machine learning and NLP, which is natural language processing. So it's built using these. Yeah. When I talk about Google, spam filter. So what happens here? Gmail uses machine learning algorithm to filter to filter whether a mail is a spam or not. So these are the some of the organization that make use of machine learning. So guys, now that you know why machine learning is important, let's look at what exactly machine learning is. So what is machine learning? We know that human learn from past experience. And when it comes to machine follows instructions given by human, right? Now, the question is, can we get a computer to learn from past experience too? And yes, that is possible. How is that possible? That's what machine learning is. For our computers, the past experience would be the data that is being fed. So now let us look at the definition of machine learning and try to understand what exactly machine learning is. So, machine learning is a process of teaching a computer system how to take accurate decisions or predictions when a data is being fed. So, remember one thing, the data fed is nothing but past data. Yeah. So, what happens here? We are going to basically train our our systems, our computer systems. We are going to train our computer systems so that it can make accurate predictions. And how are we training our computer systems? We are going to train our computer systems using this past data. Yeah. Let's take an example and try to understand this definition. So here is my system or here is my machine. So what am I going to do is I'm going to input data to my machine. And the data can be here, it can be a random pictures of or images of fruits. And the pictures images would be thousands or lakhs of images. Now what happens is once I input my data to my machine, here my machine will be or my machine model will be trained with this data using an algorithm. So using an algorithm and using my data, I'm going to build a model. I'm going to build my model, and what happens is this model will learn from the data. This model is basically going to learn from this data whether this the first image is an apple, a second image is in mango. So it is going to basically learn from this data, whatever data we're going to provide. Again, remember the data is nothing but random images of fruits. So when I give this data to my machine, what it does, it use it algorithm and the data, it will train itself, it will build a model and it is going to train itself. It is going to train whether how apple looks and how does a mango look, and that's how it will be able to differentiate between different fruits or fruits whichever I try to give. So let's say that the training process is done and the data is being trained. Now I'm adding in picture, or I'm going to basically give a picture to my computer. Say this picture is an apple. Okay, this is an image of an apple. So when I input this to my model, what should this model do? It should predict me whether this is an apple or not. So this is what my machine learning does. So machine learning is a process of teaching a computer system how to take accurate predictions when a data has been fed. So the data here in this example would be images or pictures of thousands of lakhs of fruits, right? And the accurate prediction which we're going to do is the image which you're going to provide, whether it is an apple or not. My model should be basically able to predict whether this is an apple or not. And remember, how does your our machine train the data? Using an algorithm. And which algorithm should we choose? This will be we'll be discussing about this once we start with our classes. So that time I'll be explaining in brief which algorithm to be used. Just remember one thing: algorithm and data together. We are going to build a model, and this machine is going to train itself. And once the training is done, whatever image you try to give to my machine, it will be able to predict the image. So this is what machine learning is exactly about. Now let us try to understand where machine learning is used. So I'll take an example. Let's say that my client comes to me, my client X comes to me, and he says me, to build a model that can predict house price. So this is my requirement of my client X. So he comes to me with this requirement. So now, based on the parameters, based on certain parameters, I need to predict the house price. Okay, so how do I do this? So this person, this client X uh, wants me to build a model that can do house prediction. Say, for example, in an area, Mumbai, and say some XYZ or XYZ colony. Okay, so he's telling me, you know what, this is my basically place for which I want to find I want to find the price and the area, and he's going to give you an parameter saying that the area of the house should be 2,500 square feet. So this is the requirement which the client would basically be he'll be providing you. So now the requirement he wants us to predict a house wherein the area is given 2,500 and the locality is some XYZ colony. So now what should we do? In real world scenario, right? In real world scenario, we have n number of parameters. What do I mean by parameters? The price of a house depends on say for example number of bedrooms, number of washrooms, the condition of house, when how old is this house, and area, so on, right? So these are the parameters on which the price of a house would depend on. But for our simplicity, because we don't want to get into too depth about this, for our simplicity, we are going to take only one parameter saying area. So we are just going to take one parameter called area. So we'll work with this. So I have a past data of this locality, of this XYZ locality. So I have in past data of this XYZ locality. And the past data has, price of some houses located in this XYZ area. So let us say that this is an area and this is the price. So remember, this is a past data. Yeah. Say, for example, there's a house located in this XYZ colony with 1,000 square feet and the price is 1 lakh. There's another house with 2,000 square feet and the price is 2 lakhs. And another house with 3,000 square feet and the price is 4 lakhs. And the last house which I would consider is 1,500 square feet and the price is the price is again, yeah, just give me a minute. Yeah, say the price here is 2 lakhs. Okay, just give me a minute, guys. Yeah, the price here is 2 lakhs and this let's say that this is 3 lakhs. So this is the past data which I have. Okay, which basically I have. So I'm going to use this past data and predict the price for this area in this XYZ colony. So what am I going to do? I'm going to uh, basically draw and graph. Okay, and let us plot this graph. This graph would be area versus price. So the area is 1,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet, and 3000 square feet. And the price would be again 1 lakhs, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, and 4 lakh. Okay, so this is the graph which I'm going to basically draw. Now, let us try to plot this area and price. So, area versus price. So, the area is 1000 square feet and the price would be 1 lakh. The area is 1500 square feet and the price would be 2 lakh. Yeah, just give me a minute. Yeah, 2 lakh. The area is 2000 square feet and the price would be 3 lakhs. And the area is 3000 square feet and the price is, okay, the price is 4 lakhs. So when I try to draw a rough line, I can see that this is the rough straight linear line. So when I draw this linear line, I can see that there is a linear relationship between my variable or parameter, area and price. What do I mean by linear relationship? So let us discuss about linear relationship. So linear relationship is nothing but as area increases, there's an increase in price. Right? You can see that, right? As there's an increase in area, we can see that the price also is being increased. So this is what linear relationship talks about. Or there's an when we say that there's a relationship, linear relationship between two parameters, this is what it happens. This is what basically it talks about. As there is an increase in area, there's also increase in price. Okay. Now, when I try to predict, okay, what is the area my client X requires? He requires an area. He wants to be basically predict the price. He wants me to predict the price for this certain area. So let us plot this in our graph. So 2500 square feet, right? It's somewhere here. So when I draw a line, right? When I draw a line, I can see that the price is somewhere near 3.5 lakhs. So this is how I can basically predict the house of a price for a given area, that is 2500 square feet. So this is what machine learning does. And here the algorithm which I've used here is simple linear regression. And don't worry about this. We'll be talking in depth about this once we start with our classes. Yeah. So here, this is how a simple linear regression or an house prediction example works. So this is how basically people use machine learning, or data scientists, they use machine learning. Hope you guys have understood. Let's move ahead with this topic. The topic is machine learning workflow, or the process of machine learning. What are the steps required in, or what are the steps basically involved in machine learning? So let us try to understand this. The first step says business understanding. This is also called as understanding business objectives. So understanding the business objectives. So let us take an example and try to understand. So let me take the same example which I've explained in last slide, the house prediction example. So house prediction example. House price prediction, right? So here, let us say that there is a client X who comes to me and he says, that he basically mentions all his requirements. He mentions his requirements. So here, what is our job? Our job is to understand the business requirements. So we have to understand what are his requirements. Here his requirement was to predict he tells us to build a model which can do house prediction. Right? So in this step, basically we are going to understand the requirement of our client. Okay. So here we are going to solve this problem. We are going to predict the price of an house based on certain parameters, right? Based on certain parameters. In our example, we have taken only one parameter, area, right? The previous example. So this is our first step, which is nothing but understanding the business objective. So once we have understood the business objective, the next step is data understanding. So what do we do in this? Whenever the client, when he comes to us with his with the requirements, he also provides us data. He also provides us data. So what we have to do basically here in this step, we are going to understand our data. What do I mean by understanding the data? Let's say that this is our data which the client has given me. So this is the data which my client has given me. Yeah, let me take. Yeah, yeah. So this is the data which the client has provided. He's given me. The data has area, price, fully furnished, semi furnished, number of bedrooms, and so on, etc. Yeah. So this is the data the client is which client has provided or given us. So what we have to do is, in this second step, we're going to basically understand our data. We're going to understand what is this area, and what is this price, and how is this area related to price, how is this other parameters related to my price. So all these things would be done in second step. So basically here we're going to gather our data, and we are going to do some analysis. Not analysis, basically you're going to understand your data, how your data looks like, and how is one feature dependent on other feature. As I told you, right, in previous example, there was a linear relationship between my area and price. So we're going to see all those things in this step, data understanding. Once data understanding is being done, we come to data preparation. This step is also called as data pre-processing. What do I do in this step? Here basically there are two sub steps what I have to follow. The first one is I have to fetch the data, and the second step is I have to clean the data. So again, fetching the data is again simple. What do I mean by clean the data or cleaning the data? You guys might be thinking, okay, is the data which we're getting is not clean? Yes, it's not clean basically. So what happens is the area might contain some missing values. Say, for example, 2,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet, 4,000 square feet, and this is they haven't entered anything here. And the price is 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, and so on. Yes, no, no, yes. And this is the data. And again, there's nothing filled in here, and 2 and 4, right? So this is my data. So we can see that the data here, and this there's an empty space. There's nothing written in this cell. They haven't, there's nothing. This is an empty cell basically. So even here, even here. So what happened? The data which we get is not clean. So in this process of data preparation, we are going to clean our data. What do I mean by clean our data? See, in our example, what did we do? We just took two parameters, right? Area and price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these columns. These are unwanted columns for me. So I'm just going to discard these columns. And I'm going to discard some of the rows, or I'm going to replace this values with the mean of this column. So I'm going to do all these steps. So this is what we do in data cleaning. Say, for example, two rows might contain the same data, redundant data. So what am I going to do? I'm going to discard one row, right? So all these operations come under data cleaning. And again, once we start with our classes, I'll be teaching you in detail about data cleaning. Yeah. So in this step, after this step, we're going to get a clean data. Now, with this clean data, what am I going to do? I'm going to use an algorithm. So I'm going to take an algorithm, and I'm going to build a model. So I'm going to basically build a model. So I'm going to build a model, and I'm going to give input to my model. The input of my model would be this clean data. Okay, so I'm going to basically build a model using algorithm, using one of the algorithm. There's n number of algorithms. Again, we'll be discussing this once we start with our sessions or classes. So we're going to take one algorithm, whichever is suitable for the certain problem. The algorithm depends on the problem statement, the requirement of this person X. So it will depend on that. So we are going to take one algorithm and we are going to build a model, and we are going to input this clean data to our model so that it can train itself. And once this step is done, what am I going to do? I'm going to evaluate my data. How do I do evaluation? Basically, I'm going to take a sample. I'm going to take a sample data and I'm going to feed it to my model. And I'll see whether this model is able to correctly predict or the answer, or will it correctly predict my output. So this is what I do in this step called evaluation. Like in the example which we discussed, right? Whether a fruit is an apple or not. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to provide an image of an apple to my model, and I'm going to test my model whether this model is able to predict whether this fruit is an apple or not. So that's what we do in evaluation. And once this step is done, we are going to deploy our model. So we are going to deploy our model. So these are the steps involved in machine learning process. Yeah. So I hope all of you have understood. So moving ahead, let's talk about the career opportunities. The career opportunities that you can expect with this domain. In general, there are n number of domain basically career opportunities. There are lots of career opportunities that you can pick up from. But again, I'll be talking about few of them. So let's talk about data analyst. So as the name says, we are going to analyze the data. So we're going to analyze data. So what happens here? What is the task of a data analyst? A data analyst is someone who collects the data, process the data, and performs analysis on the data and performs analysis. So this is the task of a data analyst. So he is going to basically collect the data, process the data, and analyze the data. Then why are we doing this? Why does the data analyst do this? What he does is, the data which we have, he's going to convert those data in the form of dashboards or graphs, so that a person who is from a non-technical background or who have an zero knowledge in programming, he can see these dashboards and understand that how is his organization working. Is his organization gaining profit, or is there a loss in particular month, and all those things can be done or can be visualized through this dashboards. And again, how do we create these dashboards? We make use of tools such as Tableau, Power BI, and etc. So this is what a data analyst does. Now, what is the average package as in data analyst? The average package of a data analyst is around 4 lakhs. Yeah. So next, let us try to see the other opportunities, career opportunities, which you can get into once you're learning machine learning. Data scientist. So let us talk about the role of data scientist. So as in data scientist, your role would be, what you would be doing here is, you will be collecting the data, storing and analyzing the data. And here, remember, the data would be a huge, massive amount of data. Massive amount of data. So this is what a data analyst does. So what he's going to do, he's going to basically collect the data, store, analyze the data, and an important step, basically he's going to interpret the data. And he would work with a huge amount of data or a massive amount of data. And the average package as in data scientist would be somewhere around 6 lakhs. Yeah. And the last domain which I would explain about is machine learning engineer. So, what is a task of a machine learning engineer? Let us try to understand this. What is his, what does he basically do? So, as a machine learning engineer, he is the one who will be involved with designing. So, he'll be the one who will be involved in and developing, designing and development of machine learning systems and applications. Applications using ML algorithms. So this is what a machine learning engineer does. Yeah. So this is what he'll be doing. So basically he designs, develops machine learning system and applications using machine learning algorithm. And the pay for the average pay for a machine learning engineer is almost 7 lakhs. This is the slide I wanted to show you or talk about to you guys. The top 20 emerging jobs. So we can see that machine learning engineer and data scientist have the game. So these are like in the top most or top two, emerging jobs. So with this, we can come to a conclusion that there are a lot of opportunities or openings when it comes to these two jobs, right? And the growth also would be really high. So that's the reason, you can go with machine learning and you can go with machine learning domain. And there are certain, as I told you, you can get into data analyst, machine learning engineer, data scientist, or business analyst. And there are so many other options basically. So you can get one into one among these, and you can see that these machine learning engineer and data scientist has in high demand, or there's a lot of opportunities for you guys to get into. Yeah. Now let us try to understand why should we go with Python and not any other programming languages like these. Yeah. So how why people use Python for machine learning? So let us try to understand. The first reason is easy syntax. Python has an easy syntax that makes it one of the best programming language. Best programming language. As a result, a developer who's working on a project, he can focus more on the business objective, or basically he can focus more on the problem rather than focusing on language complexity, right? He can just focus on whatever the task he has to do. He shouldn't worry about the language complexity because the syntax is very easy and very simple. The second reason is Python is an open source. So what do I mean by this? The code or the source code is available for free of cost. So you don't have to download, or basically you don't have to purchase, or you don't have to basically buy it. You can just download this and you can use it free of cost. So Python isn't free of cost. The third reason and the major reason why usually people go with Python is various libraries. So in a layman's term, what is a library? A library is collection of books, right? So similarly here, Python has collection of libraries, which I mean that it has collections of function. Say for example, you want to add a number, or you want to open a file, or you want to do some other operations, right? Some XYZ operation. So you don't have to write the code from scratch. You don't have to do this. You don't have to write it from scratch. what you can do is you can make use of these libraries. So you can just call out these libraries and you can just make use of these libraries to perform any operation. And some of the libraries which we would be focusing on would be pandas, numpy, matplotlib, seaborn. So these are some of the libraries which we would be discussing about. So here pandas and numpy is used for data preparation. Remember I told you, right, we would be basically cleaning the data. So these libraries would be used in or used for cleaning the data. When it comes to matplot and seaborn, these are for visualization. So for creating or for drawing graphs, right, for drawing graphs or for analysis purpose, okay, for drawing graphs and for doing analysis based on these graphs. All this is done using these libraries. Yeah. And the last point is platform independent. So what do I mean by platform independent? Means you can build and you can run. You can build and run your Python on any of the Windows, any of the systems. Let it be Mac system, let it be Linux system, or Windows. So you can basically run and build your Python in any one of these systems or in any systems. So it is platform independent. Next, since most of you are not familiar with Python programming language, right? So, since most of you are not familiar with Python programming language and some are very new to programming language, so what I'll do is I'll introduce you to this language. I'll show you the look and feel of this language, and maybe probably we'll discuss some simple syntax. So let us go to our Jupyter interface and try out some simple syntax of Python. So this is how my Jupyter interface looks like. So what I can do is I can just create a folder. So let me just click on File, New, and Notebook. So this is how I create a new notebook. Yeah. So yeah, I can rename this notebook by just giving a right click. So right click, I get an option called rename. So let me rename my notebook, say variables. Okay, so just click on OK, and that's how I can see that my name of this folder or file has been changed. Now, before we get started with programming, let me tell you something about this interface, this Jupyter interface. So let us talk about some of the shortcuts too, which we have to learn. So to run a current line or to run a current cell, what I can do is I can just say shift and enter. So this is in shortcut key. So either you can say shift enter or either you have this play button right on the top. So either you can go with this. So let me zoom in. Yeah. So either you can give shift enter or you can just click on this play button. And this rectangular box which you see here, this is called a cell. Yeah, this is called a cell. Say for example, I've already written something in the cell. Yeah, and I want to add a new cell. So how do I do it? There are two ways. Either click on this plus icon. Okay, either click on this plus icon or the shortcut is escape B. So escape B is in shortcut. So either you can click on this plus icon or either you can just say escape B. This is for creating a cell below. Okay, now I don't want this third line and second line. I don't want this cells basically. Okay, this I don't want this cell and this cell. So how can I delete these? You can see a symbol right here, icon, cut icon. So just click on that and click on that. This is how you delete an cell. Yeah. So I hope all of you have understood. Let us try to work with some of the syntax of Python. So the first thing which I'm going to show you guys is how do we print a statement. Say for example, I have a statement, uh, hello world, right? I have this simple sentence hello world. So how do I print the statement? So it's very simple. What I can do is I can just say print and open the brackets or parentheses, and either I can use double quotes or I can just use single quotes. So I'm just going to say hello world. So this is how a simple print statement is written in Python. So how do I execute this line? Either I can just click on this play button or I can just say shift and enter. So I can see this, my output is being printed. So I can give anything here, it will be printed. But you remember one thing, it should always be enclosed with single or double quotes. The same thing, I can even do it with double quotes. So it will not throw an error. Yeah. So when I run this, I can see that my output is being printed. So this is how a simple print statement works in Python. Yeah. Now let us talk about variables. Okay, before even getting into variables, let me tell you something about headings. So how do you give headings in Python? Say for example, I want to give this cell as an heading. So how do I do it? Very simple. First thing which you have to do is uh, currently this cell is in a form of code, right? See, it's in the form of code. So what I can do is first I have to change this cell into a markdown. So how do I do that? Simple. Just say escape and m, and you can see that. You can see this, right? Here, this current cell is changed into a markdown. Now, how do I make headings? Just give an hash symbol followed by your heading. My heading is going to be variables. And I have to just run. I have to just say shift and enter. That's how I get my heading. Yeah, it's simple, right? So now let us try to understand what are variables. So let me write a definition of variables. So variables in Python. Variables are nothing but variables are container for storing data values. What do I mean by this? Let me create a variable and I'll explain you what do I mean by variable. I'm creating a variable called message and I'm saying message is equal to 10. So here my message is in variable and my value is 10. So what am I telling? My message is a variable which is holding in value 10, which is a holding in value 10. Internally what happens is, let me show you internally how does this work. So yeah, okay, just give me a minute. Yeah, so let me just use this. So internally what happens is, whenever I create a variable, there's always a space allocated in the memory location. So just let's just imagine this is my memory. Okay, this is my memory of my computer. So what happens when I say message is equal to 10? There's an space allocated for this message. So there's in space or memory space allocated for this message, and the value of this message would be 10. So internally, this is what happens. When you say message is equal to 10, this variable called message is going to store a value. Yeah. So this is what happens internally. So when I create a variable called message, when I say 10, it is going to create an or allocate an memory space in our memory. Okay. So let us try to print this variable. So what I'm going to do is, let me remove this. Yeah. So I have my variable called message. Now I'm going to run this variable. Okay. Only when I run this or execute this current line, this message is equal to 10 will be allocated in our memory space. Okay. Now how do I print this variable? So what I can say is I can just say print followed by my variable name. So when I run this set of line, what happens is, I'll show you. Yeah. So when I run this set of code, or when I execute this set of code, what my print statement does, it will say, you know what, print me the value of this message. So it will go to my memory location and it will point to this variable called message and it will fetch. Basically, it is going to fetch this 10. So it's going to fetch this 10. So let me erase this. Yeah. Yeah. So when I say print of message, when I run this line, I can see that it will give me an output, saying that the output is 10. Why is it happening like this? Because my message is a variable and my message is storing in value called 10. So remember here I told you, right? My variable is a container. So here my message is a container which is holding in value 10. So whenever I say print message, it will give me the value 10. So this is how variables basically work in Python. Now, let us talk something about overriding. So, overriding. So, what is this overriding? Let us try to understand. Now, I know that my message variable is having a value called 10. Okay. Now, I'm going to, when I print that message variable, it will provide me an output, saying it is 10. Now, let us imagine, what I'm going to do. I'm going to create another variable with the same name, message, and I'm going to allocate a value saying 200. Yeah. And let me run this code. And I'm going to say print message. So, what will happen here? What do you guys think? Will it print 10 or will it print 200? So, when I execute this set of code, I can see that it is going to give me 200. So, let us discuss internally what happens. So I knew that first. I know that first time when I said message is equal to 10, what did it do? What did my Python interpreter do? My Python interpreter basically created an small memory location or space for my variable called message, and the value of this message was equal to 10. Second time when I again use the same variable name. Okay, when I use the same variable name, what happens is my Python interpreter would know that this variable is same, this variable is already being created. So what it does is it goes here, my Python interpreter would go here and it will overwrite, or it will override this value with 200. And that's the reason my message would contain the new value or the recent value, which is nothing but 200. Yeah. So let me just erase this and let me print. So when I print my message, it will give me 200. So this is what internally happens when I'm working with my Python. So always remember, when you want to work with two separate variables, the name should be different. So the name should be different, else overriding happens. In overwriting, what happens? My old value would be deleted and it will be overwritten by this. Overwritten by 200. Yeah. One more thing which I want to discuss about variables, or usually in Python, is Python is case sensitive. What do I mean by Python is case sensitive? Say when I say a variable called name is equal to hello, right? And when I say another variable name is equal to, you guys might be thinking, these both variables are same because the names are, same, right? You might be thinking even here the variable name is, name. Okay, let me give some other thing. Var. Okay, you guys might be thinking these are same, right? You guys may be thinking both these variables are same, but no, it's not same. Why? Because Python is case sensitive. So in the first, when I created a first variable, my all the variable letters are in lowercase, but in this second line, my v is in uppercase, right? My v is in uppercase. So remember, Python does not treat this and this as same. So this would be treated as in separate variable, and this would be treated as in separate variable. Yeah. When I say print, when I say lowercase var, it will give me, let me change this value, 210. Yeah. So when I say print, give me lowercase var, it will give me hello. When I say print, and when I use this uppercase var, okay, when I do this, it'll give me 10. So remember, Python is case sensitive, unlike other programming languages. Some of the programming language, they don't consider, they're not case sensitive. They treat this var and this var as the same value or same variable. But Python, remember, isn't case sensitive. Yeah. Next, I'll be talking about Python for mathematical operation. Python is very simple when it comes to performing mathematical operation. There are two ways that you can perform mathematical operation. I'll say A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20. So I'm assigning values, and I'm saying C is equal to A plus B. And what am I doing? I'm trying to print C. A very simple program. I'm giving a variable A is 10 and the variable B is 20. And I'm saying, you know what, my variable C is equal to A plus B. So it will add. Basically, it is going to add these variables. So 10 plus 20. And I'm saying, you know what, print me the value of the C. So when I run this set of code, it will give me a value called 30. So either I can do arithmetic operation like this, or I can just directly give 10 plus 20. So when I say 10 plus 20, it will give me 30. I can say 200 plus 200. So it's directly going to give me an output, right? So these are some of the operations which you can perform in Python, or mathematical operation which basically you can perform in Python. Now, there's another function that I want to talk to you guys about. When it comes to other programming languages, right? Like C, C++, Java, what happens is there, whenever you're whenever you're using in variable, first you have to tell the data type. So you have to say int A, and then say A is equal to 10. Char B, B is equal to hello. So this is how you do it in other programming language. So you have to specify the data type of the variable. First you have to specify the data type of the variable, and then you have to declare the variable. Then you have to declare or assign the value to the variable. But when it comes to Python programming language, you don't have to do this. If you say A is equal to 10, right? If you say A is equal to 10, it will automatically, the Python interpreter will run this code and it will understand, okay, 10 is an integer. So my A is an integer. So it will automatically understand this. So here remember the rule, variables do not need to be declared with any particular type. I don't have to basically declare any particular type for my variable. I can just say A is equal to 10. My Python interpreter would understand that my A is an integer. Yeah. But for our satisfaction, I don't know, right? As a programmer, I don't know whether whether my Python interpreter is treating this A as an integer. It can even treat this A as an character or float, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a function called type. So let us try to understand what is this function. So how do I write this function? The syntax is very simple. You're just going to say type of your variable name. Variable name. So it will basically output me the type of my variable name. So let us try an example. So what I'm going to say type of, or let me create a variable first. So A is equal to Poonam. Yeah. So what I can say type of my variable name. What is my variable name here? My variable name is nothing but A. So when I execute this code, I can see that, my Python interpreter treats this as an integer, or sorry, treats this as a string. When I say b is equal to 100, when I, try to see the type of b, it will tell me, you know what, yes, this b is an integer. Similarly, if I use floating point numbers and if I say what is my type of b, so I can see that here my b is nothing but it's in float. Yeah. Yes, guys. This is what I wanted to discuss about to you guys. So that was the entire demo. I hope all of you have enjoyed this session. So thank you guys and see you later.